Well, it's been years and we finally got a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and it is nice enough to actually be called Five Nights at Freddy's this time, so that's very considerate. So yeah, actually on that note, I think a lot of people have said, man, the movie's just taking so long. There's already kind of like spin-offs and knockoffs made around it, and although one of them at least, I think Willy's Wonderland, the guy said he had the idea even before Five Nights came out, but you know, and I can believe that, because, you know, the idea of scary animatronics, a lot of us grew up with, you know, Chuck E. Cheese and all that, and those animatronics being a little scary, so I follow that. But yeah, I still am getting over a little bit of the shingles fatigue and stuff like that, but I did really want to see this movie because in terms of you know, like my connection to it and stuff like that, I don't have a major connection, but I did play the first game a little bit when it first came out, and I liked it. You know, I'm one of those people, I find those animatronics, you know, a little creepy, you know, at all sorts of like, really any kind of animatronic, the more I think about it, is a little scary. So, so I was looking forward to this. I always kind of thought, man, when are they going to do like a movie on it? I never did play the other games, and I only played a little bit of the first one, but enough to get a feel for it and, you know, to get some of the in-jokes in the movie and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was really looking forward to this, and I gotta say, I know it's not getting the best reviews. I don't want to add to that, but this is one of those movies that I'm writing, you know, kind of like the giving it a positive review, but this movie has one major problem where, you know, that is to say it has a couple of problems I'll go into in a second, but it has one major problem that stopped me from saying, yeah, you know, go check it out. It's good. It's good enough, you know, kind of thing. Because most of the time I was writing a good enough recommendation, but pretty much the film is about this security guard who you know, it's kind of his last-ditch effort to, you know, have like a real job here. He's looking after his little sister, who's considerably younger than him, and, you know, it's another one of those scenarios where, you know, she's gonna be taken away and stuff like that unless he gets a job. So he takes this super suspicious job that, you know, at Freddy Fazbear's, I think is what it's called, and you got, you know, these animatronics obviously come to life at night, and shenanigans ensue, all that stuff, and then there's a little bit of like a mystery in it as well, involving, I guess, his little brother that, you know, I guess I won't get, they give it away pretty early. You know, his little brother disappears in the film, like when he's really, really young, and there's a mystery around that, and what is the secret behind, you know, Freddy's and stuff like that, behind the place. So, all that is fine and good, and for the most part it was working okay, and it's an interesting film because you have stuff in it that I usually like in a horror film, and I do like here enough, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. There's a lot of quiet moments in this. This is one of those films where there's not much of a soundtrack, and I usually want that in a horror film, where I want more quiet moments, I want more eerie moments, and there's a lot more focus on the human characters in it, which again, I usually want in a horror film, but with Five Nights at Freddy's, you're going in to see these animatronics come to life and be creepy and kill people, and the first time it happens, I want you to remember that, the first time it happens, it's fantastic. They shoot this place in a really creepy way. Like, I worked as a janitor for several years, and I had to go into, you know, a lot of dark rooms at night. I usually, you know, would clean at night and stuff like that. And as you would imagine, you know, a lot of big empty places that are usually very dark and underlit and stuff like that can be very creepy. And I find a lot of horror films don't usually shoot it that well. It looks a little too movie-ish. This really looks like you're in this place, in this dark room with this, you know, low lighting and stuff like that. And the way they shoot these animatronics, where you see him for a split second, or did you know, a flickering of the light, was he there and now he's gone? There's an especially great one where this giant fan starts to move. It was still on that, it starts to move, and one of the animatronics walks perfectly behind the blade to a point where you go, wait, Was that one of them? Was one of them there? It was. So all of that is great. When the eyes glow, it's great. It's both funny and creepy. There's scenes where people are walking close to these things, and like I said, I really don't get creeped out much at horror films, you know, especially when someone's getting close to something, you know, that old shtick. But I was literally, don't go up to them, you know, and that's a great feeling to have, because I never get that in horror films, and these things are creepy and they're also funny as well. But that's the thing. Remember I said the first time? Well, the first time's kind of the only time. They do the Five Nights at Freddy's shtick where, you know, somebody's looking at the security cameras and they're getting a little closer, or, you know, they start axing off people and stuff like that. Only once in the movie. The rest is either focusing on the people, or, without giving away too much, it's just the animatronics are there, but they're not doing that. And even when you get to the end, you know, I'm like, okay, well, this can be okay if they have like a big showdown at the end. And they do, but it's not with the animatronics. Again, without going too much into spoilers. I guess there's one that they go against, but they don't, the others are taken out really easily. And then there's a point where they come back and you think, oh, okay, well, this will be the big showdown. But then again, it doesn't happen. It does not give you what you are paying good money to see, which is these animatronics come to life and kill people. You get a little bit of that, and when it's done, it's great, but you're pretty much wading through these characters that are satisfying enough. I mean, like, if the rest of the film, if the film was giving you what it's supposed to give you, these characters would be fine and the performances would be fine and everything. Except the ant. The ant isn't that great. If you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. At first I thought the cop wasn't that great, but as they go more and more into what's going on around the place, I think it checks out okay. I think she was fine. But yeah, it's a movie where you're kind of waiting for it to really get going, and I thought it was the first time they actually do the animatronics coming to life and killing people, but then it never really returns back to that time again, never returns back to that formula again, and I feel like that's why everybody's going to see this film. They're going to see it for that reason. With that said, like I said, you know, the characters are fine enough, that the suspense is good. There are a lot of quiet moments, which I like in a horror film. There aren't as many, you know, just pointless jump scares. Actually, there's one that's almost like a purposefully pointless jump scare. It's kind of a running joke, and I guess, again, I won't ruin it, but it's when he opens a locker and what he sees in there, and they do it a couple times, and it is funny. This movie, when it wants to be creepy, is both creepy and funny, and I think that's what you need to be, but it bizarrely kind of takes itself too seriously. I feel like it thinks it's making Exorcist or something like that, and it's not. The story is still, you know, a little convoluted and forced, but like in a fun way where you want to see where it's gonna go. You want to see how everything connects, and it does connect in a ridiculous way, but in a way that I'm like, yo, that makes sense for Five Nights at Freddy's, about animatronics that come to life and stuff like that. So, you know, I thought it was working okay. They just needed more of these animatronics actually doing something, actually being scary. And it's so bizarre that they're not doing that in this film. There's so little of it. So I think if you just want to see this film just to actually see a movie that has the Five Nights at Freddy's characters, a lot of the same security cam shots and the hallways, and the place I think is laid out, you know, pretty much like the game and stuff like that, you might like it just enough, and even then, I'm kind of, because I know there's a diehard fan base of Five Nights at Freddy's, and like I said, I only got through a little bit of the first game, and I know there's like all this lore to the game that goes on as you keep playing them and stuff like that, so I don't know about that. I'm assuming the movie follows it closely, but I could be wrong. So maybe if you're looking for the film just to do, just to kind of be a little fan servicey enough that it's nice to see the animatronics up there and being a little creepy and have a story that's taken seriously with real characters, like they actually wrote a script around it, isn't 100% just fan service, you might enjoy it. But if you're looking for, like I was, just a movie where animatronics go around and kill people and done competently enough, It's almost there, but it doesn't quite reach it. It's missing the number one thing that, like I said, I think everyone is looking forward to. So it's not that there's none of it in there, there's just nowhere near enough. When I was getting close to the end, I was saying to myself, oh my god, is this it? Is this all we're gonna get of these things? And sure enough, it was. So if it does well and they make a sequel, I really hope they do more with that, because these things are creepy and they are funny as well, and I think there's a lot you can do with it and kind of, again, tap into that kind of 80s nostalgia or even 90s nostalgia, you know, Chuck E. Cheese and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like I give it a lot of credit for really trying to treat the character seriously, for having a lot of quiet moments, for not having too many jump scares, for not having too much music. I do really appreciate it for that. But I think that should have been done in another film that isn't Five Nights at Freddy's. Or at the very least, no, you can do that, but you have to give people what they're looking for. You have to give them more Five Nights at Freddy's in Five Nights at Freddy's. At the very least, coming from someone who's only played the first game. Maybe the other games have a lot more talking about who's gonna get the sister and what happened in your childhood and stuff like that. I don't know, I haven't played the other games, but I get the feeling most people seeing this movie are gonna want to see just animatronics eat people up. And for the little time they do it, it's great, but it needed a lot more of it. So, yeah, let me know, have you seen this film, and are you a Five Nights at Freddy's fan as well? Did you follow the other games? How well did the movie capture that? Did it satisfy you? Is this a film where you actually thought, yes, this is what you were looking for, it gave you exactly what you wanted? Or did you feel like it was lacking, or maybe it didn't do the lore right, or the backstory, or something like that? Yeah, let me know your thoughts about it. Hopefully when, you know, more of the fatigue clears up, I'll be able to do more just the traditional Untitled review shows here. But yeah, it's still, this movie did not help that. Because like I said, there are a lot of moments that are just kind of very quiet and a little dull, and need more killer teddy bears. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I will just see you next time. Take care.